Okay, let's get into it. I went and saw the movie Sinners. And to be honest, I had to sit with that movie for a day. I saw it yesterday morning. Quick aside. What happened? Well, I know what happened. Inflation happened and all this bullshit. But remember when you could go to the matinee? And that shit was like maybe like no more than $8 we could go? Bitch, $17.95. Why am I paying nighttime prices for daytime activities? Anyway, I went. I didn't know what I was going to get into. I had heard reviews and somebody was some spoilers or whatever. But, you know, I don't ever take nobody's word for it because you're not going to watch the movie like I'm going to watch it because I'm having my experience, not yours. Now, another quick aside. There was no more than like 25 people in my theater. I was in a row of a good 18 African Americans in my row. My people was strong right in my row. Except for 2 seats that sat 2 white people right in the middle of the whole row. Which I was like, that's interesting, because when I saw them walk in, they kind of was like, oh, like, what did you think you was going to see in here? But anyway, then later on people came in. Now, before I get into the review part, not even halfway through, the movie was not over. I'm trying to remember what scenes we were on. For lack of a better way, it was a whole bunch of white people getting shot up. It wasn't quite the end, but it was not the 2 white people that was handed strong in our row, but it was like an older white man or some other man that probably could have been the dude's cousin from the screen. I know I shouldn't say that, but I'm just saying how he looked so you can get an idea. Him and this other lady walked out. I wanted to be like, where y'all going? Wait. But I didn't. Anyway, the movie was good. And I see why people are so excited about it, because the layers of it and the significance of it is something you've never seen before. Yes, we've all seen, vampire movies. Oh, it's not a horror movie. I want people to not say that. I mean, granted, if it gets him into more doors for Ryan, then yeah, use it as a genre. But in general, it is not a horror movie at all. Now, I honestly would say that the movie indirectly is a love story. It's a love story in terms of, what are you willing to sacrifice for love? What are you willing to sacrifice for freedom? What does freedom look like? Do you even know? So, like, the reason I say it's a love story is because every character in the movie had some love. Anna was in love with Smoke. Smoke was in love with Anna. That was his number one woman. They had been through some trauma of losing a baby, and that made things kind of hard. They never really got into the reason that he had tremors, other than, they talked about it, but he could have had something else wrong with him. But anyway, they lost the baby, and that put a lot of strain on it, because it was a lot of hurt they probably just didn't know how to deal with. But she protected her man whether he was next to her or not. She made him that little mojo bag that he constantly wore as a protector, as a badge, as armor, as a reminder of his carrying the love from her with him everywhere he went. She was his spiritual protector. I think I heard someone say that before. And he was the physical protector of her, of everybody's emotions, the way they moved, especially Stack. He even alluded it to the fact of making a line and said, somebody watch Stack, because he can't even watch his own back. Like, he knew that somebody had to always be watching him and taking care of him. His ultimate love was, it was hard for us to love in the physical realm. But by the time we got to the end of the movie and he ended up getting shot and passing away, so we think, if you want to do further, but passing away, he was able to finally love in freedom and in peace the way he wanted to in the physical world with his baby, because they were waiting for him on the other side. You had Mary. Mary was good at they refer to her technically as an octoroon because she was 1/8 black because of her grandmother raised the twins or whatever. So she grew up, so to speak, with black people, with the Chinese people. Like, she was part of the culture. She grew up like that. She looked like the other side that was living in privilege, but she didn't want that. She wanted to be with her people, and for lack of a better term, it were her people. She grew up with them. That's what she had. But Stack loved her that much that he was like, look, we got you set up with that white man and in Arkansas, and to be married and be over there. And she was like, I don't want a white man, I wanted you. Now, granted, Stack, I would say, if you was trying to do it from a psychological standpoint, Stack was the id. Stack was all about, like, what can we get? What can we do? Let's do it now. Okay, what we doing? Oh, he ready to go. He all like, let's go with the flow. Perfect example with those wooden nickels. Smoke is very much the ego. He the one trying to keep everybody together. He like, look, we are not going to turn a profit. We are not going to do what we need to do if we going to be out here accepting wooden nickels. Like, we can't pay no bills with no wooden nickels. This is some shit that goes to somebody else's store that ain't our store. Like, we can't do that. And they like, oh, well, come on, he old and he this and he that. No, we need to be smart about this situation. So you can see Stack, even though he was grown, was still very much like immature in some of his actions, other than the fact that he was thinking clearly about taking care of Mary and making sure she kind of stayed on the white side so she would be safe. And then that was one less thing for him to worry about, because if she was mixing and mingling with the white people, he knew that, okay, wasn't no harm gonna come to her. But he couldn't love her in the physical either. So the only way to love her and she could love him was when they became vampires, and they could love the way they wanted to, now forever into eternity, both being vampires. So they finally got the love they wanted, but they had to sacrifice death to be in love. And their death was a never-ending death, because, as Anna said, if you a vampire, your soul is trapped and it can't be released, so you stuck in rage and anger most of the time. So, for lack of a better way for them, y'all are in love finally and together, but it probably may be toxic depending on what's going down. Now you got Sammy, preacher boy. Damn, that boy can sing in real life and in the movie and everything. He had a love. His love was music. He was willing to, he went through that whole day and night with them vampires, almost died, got scarred up, everything, for the love of his life, which was music. That's also why I know that the camera kept panning down to his hand, and you kept seeing how tight he was holding on to the guitar. Like, the way I interpreted it was, once you grab hold of your dream, or once you grab hold of the love that you know is your purpose, you can't let it go no matter what. He didn't even have a bottom of the guitar, but he still had that dream grasped tightly in his hand. That's an example of saying, no matter what it looks like, if you know that it's something that you want to do, there's something that you know you believe in, if you know that it's something that you have been called to do, and you feel it in your spirit, in your body, in your purpose, you hold on to that. Because your dream will make room for you. Your gift will make room for you. Music was his gift. Calling the ancestors was his gift. He was able to express things through lyrics and strings and voices that he could not express in just mere words. Now, his sub-love, because he was a teenager, he just, getting his beak wet, so to speak, literally and figuratively, okay, was Miss Perline. Now, Miss Perline, technically, ma'am, you out here flirting with the youngsters, being a cougar. Nobody ever saw your husband. So we don't know if you really had one, or if you do what we do and say we married and we got a man, so we don't get bothered too much when we out in the streets. Who knows? But your husband ain't never show up. And I know for a fact, technically, in those time of days, if you was going out, you for dang sure was not going out by yourself in that dressed the way you was dressing, to be going to no juke joint by yourself. You was going to be asking for trouble just about, and your husband was not going to let you be out there gallivanting by yourself without him showing up. Now, that's one thing I think they could have put in the movie, because if you did want to show a husband, the husband could have showed up, and he could have been turned on the way to her beating on the door trying to get in there because you know, his woman was in there. But either way, Sammy did a nice smooth song on Pearline, and after that got her hooping and hollering and dancing and stomping on that stage. I said, Lord, it must be nice. Woo, Sammy, you good with your hands, I suppose. You playing that mic. Anyway, so that was the love of his life. Music, sub-love was Pearline, or the experience with Pearline was his love. But apparently it was still good because when he got old and he was at the end playing, the name of the album was called Pearline. So Lord, he must have had a lot of recollection. So, you know, that's how that was. I would even say that the Vampires had love. Now, granted, their love was warped in terms of they thought they had to take from a community to fulfill the need of the missing part of their ancestors. What also you need to understand is that we had that in common. Whether it's good or bad or indifferent, the lack of community, the lack of love, everyone needs someone. And the vampire was missing his ancestors, and he needed some people in his corner, behind him, so to speak, or in front of him, whatever, you know, so to speak. And he was indiscriminate about who was going to be in his community because he just wanted like groups of people. Now, granted, on the flip side, interwoven in that is like, yeah, you want groups of people, and yeah, you was, you know, talking that game of like, I just want equality. Why we can't all sing songs, and we like to eat, and we like to whatever? Yes, that's true. But the tricky part of that is you don't want us in your community because you want us to be together, uplifting each other. You want us in your community because you want to take what we have, because we got a little razzle dazzle to put on top of your plain white rice you got going on. So, because if you peep that, when they sang that doggone, picking that Robin clean, that straight sound out of like 19, that sounded like juxtaposition of time. You need to be blowing on the jug when you playing like straight up like country, out in the boondocks white music. It had no soul, it had no flavor. All you had was that that banjo playing, and y'all singing about Robin being picked clean, which made me want to know who was Robin. Anyway, that's a tangent I'm gonna go on. Now, Grant, don't get me wrong, y'all sounded good, y'all could sing, don't get me wrong, y'all could sing, but it ain't have no on it until later on, after you done acquired all the black people and the Asian man, and some other people that you done acquired. Now all of a sudden, Picking Robin Clean got some kind of soul slapping, toe tapping, stomping going on. It got a little rhythm. Everybody moving together. We ain't clapping on the 3, we clapping on the 1, 2. You know what I mean? So all of a sudden you got a little sprinkle. You got a little flavor in your stuff, and now you trying to come and get more flavor. So that's where that's wrong, because that's how, unfortunately, the world that we live in is. Yes, you want us to all get along. Yes, you love me until I'm not doing what you want me to do for you, and until it's not convenient. The thing that I remember learning when I was in college, when we were taking one of these classes, was like, I think we were talking about, injustices and socialism and all of that, but we were talking about the relations between black and white people. And even to this day, I still got the same dang on question. I don't understand. How can you hate somebody so much and then try to be bothered? Like, my thing is, you hate us. If you hated us, you should have stayed away from us. The problem is we have an allure to you, and you love the way we talk and walk and carry ourselves, and everything we do is very rhythmic and it has a flow to it, and it's beautiful. And I mean, I know they say black girl magic and all that kind of stuff. It is kind of magical. It is wonderful to look at our people like make something out of nothing. We can turn dust into diamonds. We have that ability to do that. Now, you can't stand that. So my thing is, if you don't like us, why you talk to us? And then on top of that, you have to be mad at you and your own ancestors because you went over there and snatched us from where we was at. We was minding our own merry business. And here you come with probably a free ticket and a mirror or something. Talking about, hey, come on, let's go. We thought we were going to get on this Gilligan's Island trip, and it turned into 400 years. Now you done had us all separated. You done brought us all over here. And it ain't no return ticket. You can't take us back. Now you mad. Like you got buyer's remorse or something like that. Well, hey, deal with it. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. I'm loving the fact that he was able to get all them Ku Klux Klan members back. I'm glad he was able to kill all of them. I think that, no, it wasn't that far back. But like I said, them white people was leaving the theater earlier than that was going on. I think it was too gory for them. There was a lot going on. And I just think that man's constitution getting taken and he was ready to go. But he done messed up. Then on top of that, when it started going off and that first credit roll, it was like about 19 people got up and left. And I wanted to be like, are y'all not listening? You missing shit. Like all them people missed the fact that like Sammy was still living and Stack was still living and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It was crazy. But what else? The music scene. The music scene I physically had a reaction to. I literally was teared up crying because it was such a visual of beauty and progress and presence all at the same time, and how we are all connected through music. When they had you had the people doing scratching on the DJ booth, and you had people twerking along with the geishas walking through, and you had the African drummers walking, and the futuristic on the electric guitar. Like that was, I don't even know. There are really no words for what that beauty was. I don't know. Like, I don't want to repeat a whole bunch of stuff that everybody else has been saying, but like, that movie sticks with you. I know when I walked out of that movie theater and I came outside and it was a pretty sunny day and the wind was blowing, I remember I had to, like, it was like an anxiety that was in my chest. I had to take like a deep breath and just like, and blow that out. And blowing that out made me feel like this freedom release of some sort. I mean, granted, you got the anxiety because you invested in the characters, but this was different. This was an actual, real, personal freedom release. And then I felt like I wanted to cry because it was like, I don't know, it was weird. It was like something was beautiful in that moment of breathing out and exhaling in the sun outside, and have just seen what I did, was shown to me on the screen. The church in it, because my family was, for the most part, religious, and I remember my friends who were super duper religious, and sometimes growing up in the church is rough, especially when you feel like you don't want to disappoint. I think a lot of things that happen with church too sometimes is that there is a lot of talking, but there is not a lot of explanation, except for the fact, like, well, it's in the Bible, read it. It's in the Bible, read it. Like, I know it's in the Bible, okay, we can read it, but at the same time, people have questions. Like, if we can be anything that we want to be in life, and everyone has a purpose, and you may be called to the purpose, why does it seem like once I get called to something that I think is my purpose, all of a sudden you want to tell me it's evil? Well, then which is it? Everybody got a purpose, and everybody's called to a purpose? But then why is it my purpose is evil and I'm supposed to do what you want me to do, but that ain't what I'm supposed to do because that's not my purpose? Run it back. It'll make sense in a little bit. I think that's kind of crazy. Because everybody's not meant to be the same, because everybody's journey is supposed to be different. Now, everybody's journey should have one thin thread through it that will connect us, which may be Christianity and Jesus Christ, and loving one another and building community and using your gifts to help and elevate others. That's the thing. We're supposed to be helping elevate and build together. We are not supposed to be backstabbing and lying and cheating and stealing. This is why we not getting further. One person figures out an idea to like hoard money from millions of Americans. We not getting to that. But then we supposed to clap and be like, yeah, good job. No, that's not how it is. Because it's all a ripple effect. It's all a domino effect. And if we do not try to take care of each other better, what's the point of winning the game when you ain't got nobody to play with? Think about that. Anyway, that's it for now. Overall, I guess if you was doing like 5 stars, I honestly would give it 4.5 stars. And the reason I say half is because there was some bits and pieces that I would have liked to explore a little bit more. I wish sometimes, we got the gist of Anna and Smoke's story, but I wish they had a little bit more flashback of like before he left and like maybe when she had lost the baby and what led up to the tensions of them leaving, or maybe when Stack left Mary to marry that white man in Arkansas or whatever, to see that, just see a little bit more. Now, one thing I like to talk about Delroy Lindo right quick. I forgot Delta Slim. I think, this is me speaking, I think Delta got into drinking because he had survivor's guilt. Because remember they was in the car and they was talking when they rode past the chain gang people from jail or whatever, and Sammy was like, well, you know one of them? He was like, I know them all. And he told a story, I think he told a story about his brother who got killed based on a lie. And as soon as he said that, based on the lie that he stole from a white man and raped a white woman, I say, dang, you talk about Emmett Till. I'm not saying they're the same person. I'm just saying they was using that story because a lot of that happened back then. That here goes a man who legitimately made some money and was happy, and then was going to the store to go get a pop or something for $2, and then here he go getting picked on by people that you claim you don't like. My thing is, if you don't like nobody, why are you talking to them? I know if I don't like you, I'm not going to talk to you. If I say I don't bang with you, you ain't gonna see me nowhere in your neighborhood. I'm not gonna be trying to sit next to you. Nothing. I don't even care if you got on good shoes that I like. I'm not even gonna compliment nothing because I don't like you. So, apparently people don't know what don't like mean because y'all be doing too much. Anyway, I done stepped over. But anyway, this man gets immediately lynched in the train station from tongue to tail over a lie. And I think that just got into Delta's spirit, and I think he just felt like, okay, the quickest way to kill myself would be to drink. But unfortunately, that shit was taking a long time to do, so he sacrificed himself to let the others get away for when the vampires came in. He gave himself up. And I thought that was like very noble of him to do that, because he was trying to protect the youngsters. You know, some of these elders be trying to protect the youngsters, but we don't be listening. I wish they would listen, because trust me, we know a lot more than you think we do. And I was there when you was younger. You think your parents don't know nothing. You're like, oh my God, you don't know what's going on today. That's not how it is today. It's really the same thing. Like, whatever we was going through then, when they were growing up, we going through now when we dealing with social media. And at the same time, stuff that we dealing with now is way worse than what they were dealing with then, because they had less access to stuff. You had to physically go read a book or physically go read the newspaper. You had to know how to read. You had to know how to do things physically without depending on all this extra stuff. One thing, granted, I didn't want them to speak the way they, was speaking in 1932, because, we all had a dialect of understanding. But when they was cussing and they was like, F this and F that, I'm like, oh, the F word is there all? Like, they was Fing back then too? But anyway, it was getting dark out here. Y'all can't see nothing. So look at the temperature change. You see how the sky done changed? Anyway, I'm done. Thank you for listening to me ramble a little bit. This is the Fire Lotus. I will be back again with either the Amateur or the Accountant 2. And there's some other shows in between that I've been watching on TV to talk about But I hope to talk to you and see you again. Bye.